Hello, welcome to this special pre-budget broadcast. I'm Parikshit Luthra. Nirmala Sitharaman is set for a date with history this coming Tuesday. She will become India's first finance minister to present the union budget for the 7th consecutive time. It is going to be a tightrope walk for the finance minister. On the one hand, the government would want to tread on the path of fiscal discipline. On the other, the industry is hoping for more measures to boost growth, and taxpayers are assigning some sweeteners. So what should one actually look forward to when the budget is presented? Latha Venkatesh is here with the big numbers.
Well, let's talk about the big numbers in the budget. This is the first time that the standout feature of the upcoming budget is that the government has more money than it expected. It has higher tax and non-tax revenues. Firstly, the government has got a 2.1 trillion rupee dividend from the Reserve Bank, whereas the interim budget had estimated only 80,000 crore dividend. So overall non-tax revenues are going up by 1.3 trillion rupees. Finance Minister Sitharaman may also estimate the tax revenues higher by about 40,000 to 50,000 crore. One, because the final receipts of FY24, that's last year, show that the government collected 27,600 crore rupees more than the interim budget estimated. That's partly why, if you remember, the fiscal deficit had fallen to 5.6% from the estimated interim budget number of 5.8%. Secondly, tax revenues in the April to July period are on an average 12 to 22% higher than last year, showing that the economy is perhaps more buoyant than expected. So the interim budget estimate of a 12% rise in direct taxes can easily be upped to 14 to 15% given the performance of the first quarter, especially direct taxes. All told, Sitharaman may raise the gross tax revenue from 38.3 trillion to 38.7 trillion. After transfers to states, the net tax revenue may jump from 26 trillion to 26.4 trillion. Adding the non-tax revenue advantage, total net revenues to the centre may rise from 30.8 trillion in the interim budget to 32.5 trillion approximately when the final budget comes. Given that we expect government revenues to be at least 1.5 to 1.7 trillion rupees higher, how will the government use it? Now, economists estimate that capex may be increased by about 40,000 crore and revenue expenditure may be increased by 60,000 crore. Some say capex won't be raised much and revenue expenditure via programs for rural development and agriculture may be upped by maybe the entire 1 trillion rupees. The rest of the excess may be used to bring down the fiscal deficit from 16.9 trillion rupees estimated in the interim budget to probably 16 to 16.34 trillion rupees. Hence, the fiscal deficit can fall from 5.1% in the interim budget to 4.9 or even 5%. Now, if the deficit indeed goes down, the government may have to borrow less from the market, probably about 50-60,000 crore less. Now, this lower borrowing by the government can push down bond yields, and that will mean the cost of capital for companies also comes down. Of course, the government may choose to spend more and keep the deficit at 16.9 lakh crore or at 5.1% of the budget, but a fall in the fiscal deficit can mean a huge leg up to a possible upgrade of India by the rating agencies, which will mean a paradigm shift in borrowing costs for India and for Indian corporates. So much hinges on this budget.
Better access to credit and ease of doing business. That's what MSMEs want from the upcoming union budget. CNBC-TV18's Shilpa Ranipeta reports that the MSMEs in Maharashtra also want the government to ensure better implementation of schemes announced during the budget.
India currently has 6.33 crore MSMEs, which together employ over 20 crore people. But the sector continues to face a multitude of problems and hurdles, from a lack of credit access to an unfavorable business environment to high costs. These enterprises are now looking to the Modi 3.0 government's first budget to offer a solution to some of these problems. Their top requests: continue the rule mandating payment within 45 days from a date a product or service is delivered, and expanding the NPA classification period from 90 days to 180 days.
See, I am pursuing this NPA 90 days to 180 days to be changed as definition for last 2 years. I had a meeting with the two RBI deputy governors where we have also discussed this point that 90 days is very less period for any company to become NPA. They should not change the definition of 45 days payment to be receivable from the corporates and PSB or any PSU. This is a strict, we have recommended to the minister that should not change at all. Because of that, so many SMEs are dying. They are not getting their trade receivable.
Access to credit is a hurdle MSMEs have been grappling with for years. The government has announced a few relief measures like the credit guarantee scheme. But MSMEs say the compliance burden and actually getting the funds under these schemes are problem areas.
Wherever the MSME approaches banks and they don't get any loans without collaterals. Okay. So the collaterals plays a very important role, whereas the MSME doesn't have that flexibility to bring in a collateral and take the loan facilities. So it really doesn't work that way.
We have recommended that the MSME sector should be given in sort of an priority sector. The banks should give them at a lesser interest, and by which the manufacturing can be encouraged. Correct. Government intent is there, but the banks are not really in the ground level. It is not happening.
Data from the government shows that 11.65 lakh guarantees worth over 1 lakh crore rupees were approved in FY23 under the credit guarantee scheme, and under the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, which offers collateral-free loans of up to 10 lakh rupees, total disbursals stood at 5.2 lakh crore rupees as of FY24.
While access to credit and capital is critical for MSMEs, many of them say that support in terms of technology, capability building and upskilling is equally critical for them to grow from micro to small to medium to eventually large enterprises.
For this, they hope the budget will allocate funds towards upskilling and reskilling enterprises.
Besides having technical understanding of the business, entrepreneurs and their organizations needs to understand management science also along with it. Management science plays a vital role in the growth or transformation of any organization.
Infrastructure is another area in which the sector hopes the government will help.
Providing reduced electricity for the MSME exporters, because many areas are landlocked countries and they don't have any port facilities. So we have requested to provide dry port facilities. We have requested to increase the basic custom duty of the value-added products, because what is happening is presently the FTAs are not having that reciprocity. So if you are importing these low-end substandard products, the domestic industry is going to be affected.
MSMEs account for over 45% of the country's exports, and so the hope is the government will come up with more measures or enhance existing ones to boost exports.
Budget may see the announcement of the setting up of a global trade body. This, experts say, is good news for the industry, as it not only gives smaller enterprises exposure to international markets, but will also help boost exports and reduce India's rising trade deficit. In Mumbai, Shilpa Ranipeta.
From Lakpati Didi to the Ujjwala scheme, the budget is likely to focus on women-centric welfare schemes, both in terms of new schemes and also better allocation for existing ones. CNBC-TV18 Sandhya Gora takes a look at the schemes that could see special focus and also the government's rationale behind it.
Women empowerment and upliftment has been a pillar of the BJP dispensation since it first came to power in 2014. When it first came to power, it announced schemes like the Ujjwala scheme, which promised access to cheaper cooking gas for BPL women, and the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, a multi-layered program on women's health, improving the sex ratio and girl education. Both schemes have been successful. Under the Ujjwala scheme, for instance, the government has provided over 10 crore free gas connections so far and has consistently allocated a high budget to this scheme. A much newer scheme which was introduced in the BJP's second term is the Lakpati Didi scheme. It aimed to provide vocational training, interest-free loans up to 5 lakh rupees and other assistance to 2 crore members of women's self-help groups aiming to push their incomes above 1 lakh rupees annually. In the interim budget, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said the scheme had 1 crore Lakpati Didis and increased the target to 3 crore Lakpati Didis by the end of 2026. So experts say this scheme could see more allocation in the upcoming budget. Now, one reason experts believe these women-centric schemes could see a higher focus is that BJP has long considered women voters a critical vote bank. According to Lokniti CSDS survey, 36% of the women voters in 2024 favoured the BJP, the same as in 2019, but higher than the 29% in 2014. Now it has 4 state-level assembly elections coming up and it does not want to lose this momentum. So it's not just the centre-level schemes that are expected to see a higher allocation in the budget. At the state level also, women-centric schemes that can be availed in addition to the central schemes may be on the anvil. NDA-ruled Maharashtra, which goes to polls in October, has already announced such a scheme. The Mukhyamantri Ladki Bahin Yojana promises financial assistance of 1,500 rupees per month to underprivileged women in the 21 to 65-year age group. The BJP is also aware that a few other states have already implemented their own women welfare schemes, many involving a cash handout, like Madhya Pradesh's Ladli Bahin Yojana, West Bengal's Lakshmi Bhandar scheme and Assam's Arnodaya scheme. Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Karnataka and Delhi also have similar schemes in place. So new schemes in BJP-ruled states that don't yet have such women-centric schemes cannot be ruled out completely, especially with more states going to polls in the coming years.
All right. Thank you, Santhya, for joining us with that report. Time now for a break. But up next, from higher investments in artificial intelligence and green energy to higher outlay for education, Young India has its priorities in place when it comes to the budget. The CNBC-TV18 budget box travels to college campuses across the country. We get you the students' wish list up next.
Hi, you're watching CNBC TV18. I'm Archana Solanki. The countdown for the budget 2024 has started and we are traveling with our budget box across the country. Why? Because we want your voice to reach the finance minister. We want you to tell us what should be done in this budget. Today, I am at the Willingkar Institute of Management and I have with me some bright students who want to share their budget wish list with the finance minister. Let's get started. Hi, please introduce yourself and tell us what you want the finance minister to do.
Hello, so I am Kripali Patel. So looking forward to the upcoming budget, I would like to see more funding in the artificial industry. So where AI is booming a lot coming this year, so I feel that more of investment in the R&D in different sectors like healthcare, education, defense and agriculture is something like it should be mentioned in the budget. Also AI literacy is something very important. So more of institutions regarding to the AI and also like a partnerships with the academics and with the institutions and with the industries is something very important for enhancing AI as an profession. Also, the Startup India initiative is something very important. So this will help the AI startups to boost regarding incentives which they require and for the startups, the incentives, the infrastructures which they require for. Also, AI has 2 aspects which I feel that it's one of the data centers and the semiconductors. So with respect to the data centers, AI requires large data and to build its model upon. So more of infrastructure space with regard to the data and building upon that is something that should be looked after into the budget. With respect to the semiconductors, Taiwan is one of the leading semiconductor manufacturing across the world. So more of infrastructure in designing and in the research of having this is important into the budget. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ananya. I'm a second year MBA finance student. So one of the major expectations I have from this budget is more investment in the research and development fee. As we all know, currently it's just 0.6% of the GDP. So for any developed country to grow, R&D sector is one of the major backbones. So I feel that needs to increase. Also because it will aid in the Make in India initiative. And one of the major resources we have for for a Viksit Bharat motto of 2047 is the infrastructure development. And although the infrastructure investment is significantly increasing, the pace of the infrastructure development is a little slow. That is because of the civil engineering R&D lagging behind if we take the example of major developed countries. So if we increase in the civil engineering R&D space also, it will aid in the infrastructure development of our country.
Hello, I am Aditya Chitai, student of Wellington Institute. As a youth or student of the nation, job is something I look forward to, and job creation is something I would be expecting from the government. There are sectors like production link schemes and everything schemes which can create jobs and prosper youth more. And as a part of working population of the nation, job is something which can help us to contribute more to the economy and boost the economy as a whole and help achieve India's $5 trillion economy dream very soon. So job creation will not only help India achieve its own growth but also help government reduce the unemployment rate, because post-pandemic of the year 2020 we have seen an increase in unemployment rate. So definitely job creation can reduce the gap of unemployment also and create more jobs to the country.
Sure. I'll come back to you. Let's come to you first. What are your expectations? Please introduce it.
Hello, I am Mokshi Cheda, and being a second year MBA graduate who is specializing in finance, it is very important to look at the new tax regime that we have in place. Given the fact that the right now, if we go to see income tax from individuals is about 30% of the total revenues that government is generating, and corporate taxes is only about 27%. So in that case, the individuals right now are feeling that they are being taxed more in this economy, and therefore some relief to them is required so that the taxpayers in India increase. Those reliefs could be through few adjustments to the new tax regime. One of them could be that the income tax brackets for the new tax regime could be increased up to 20 lakh rupees to cover tax slabs of 15, 10% and 20%. Another one could be reduction in surcharges, especially for that of the higher income bracket. And also we could also reintroduce the deductions under Section 80, which could actually incentivize people to file their returns more. All of this will help us increase the disposable income of the individuals in this economy, stimulate consumer spending and aid the economic growth. But given the fiscal deficit concerns that we have right now, any major tax cuts are not foreseeable, but moderate adjustments could be seen.
Yes, the income tax is a big concern, and I think every tax people look forward to some relaxation on that front. Yes, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Aditya, and my expectation with this budget is more investment in development of quantum technologies. The last time the government of India invested was about 8,000 crores in 2021 budget. But looking at our competitive countries like China, US and Germany, that they are investing a lot more now, we should actually review the budget and include more budget for the development of quantum technologies, especially in quantum communication, simulation, and other things. This can really be helpful for our agriculture and manufacturing sector because they can boost from it. And apart from that, also a lot more investment in nuclear energy. We know that recently our Prime Minister had a deal with Russia for 6 more power plants. But I think the future after 50 years or 100 years is going to be nuclear energy. So we should ensure that more nuclear power plants should be created in this country. Thank you.
My name is Anagha. As a student who would very soon venture into the job market, my skills and employability are two things which plague my mind very often, as is the case for, I think, countless other students in India. So having said that, I feel like our government does a commendable job in terms of education for primary as well as secondary. But in terms of the skills that we require for the job market, I think that's where we somehow lack. And the 18 to 35 age group makes up about 42%. These are the numbers, I think, for 2023. So we have a huge number which could contribute to the coming sectors. And for the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Yojana, which is the Skill India as well as the skill universities are developed under this scheme, we had about 60, so the 42% makes up to about 60 crores people in India, of which last year only about 1.4 crore were able to, the government was only able to upskill only 1.4 crore of them. So I feel that there's a lot of scope. So in terms of funding, I feel the government could do more, as well as making sure that it's accessible to throughout of India, especially the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. It's important that these people are able to achieve that.
Hello, my name is Sukhada Joshi, and in my opinion, the government of India needs to focus more on green energy and EV sectors for the upcoming budget. For the green energy sector, I expect the government to either introduce or expand on schemes like Pradhan Mantri Suryodaya Yojana, wherein the government has promised close to 1 crore households by installing rooftop solar installations. And these installations will help the households with close to 300 units of electricity per month, which will help us in reducing our dependency on fossil fuels and will also reduce carbon emissions as a country. For the EV sector, I expect the government to introduce FAME 3.0, which is a more stringent subsidy scheme than the FAME 2.0, which will cover a broader range of vehicles in addition to just four-wheelers. And also, I expect the government to provide subsidies and incentives to companies and startups which are developing or doing R&D for charging infrastructure in India, as that is one of the major concerns of EV owners currently.
Hello, my name is Ambarish Doshi. My major expectation from the Union Budget 2024 is for the government to increase its expenditure on education. Currently, according to the last budget, the total outlay as a percentage of GDP was around 2.9%. Although there was a 13% rise from the previous year, it's still not matching with the major global economies such as the US, which spends around 6% of its GDP on education itself. So I feel that if for any wealth creation, education is a primary step. So for this, the government should spend a lot more on education than it is right now. Around 14 lakh of our students already study abroad, according to the Ministry of External Affairs. I feel that this number could be reduced a lot if a quality education is provided in India and more is spent on educational infrastructure.
Let's go back to those people. An important thread that has come out so far is concern about green energy, AI, investment in the education sector. Let's talk about what your expectations are from the budget.
Hi, my name is Ritika, and as we look forward for the upcoming budget, my expectation is that they will increase expenditure on infrastructure development. Earlier, the capex expenditure was 11.11 lakh crore, and there is an expectation is like it will reach around 12 lakh crore. Now, India being the largest, fastest growing economy and an emerging market, it attracts a huge investment, which in turn will lead to rupee appreciation and lowering the inflation, and people will have more buying ability. So which indeed will need a better ecosystem which will have more robust infrastructure and leading to more economic growth. For that we need to have a robust infrastructure, and that's why I have an expectation they will increase the capital expenditure. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Shreya, and as we know that agriculture sector is a backbone of the economy, and this is of course a digital era. So providing digital public infrastructure facilities for the agriculture sector to provide farmers with better credit solutions and access to better input credit and insurance facilities. This can be done by providing digital literacy programs and also digital credit platforms where farmers can directly connect to the financial institutions, and also providing digital platforms where farmers can directly exchange the products like pesticides, fertilizers, etc. And another expectations will be like sectors like manufacturing, technology, healthcare, in my opinion, are shaping the economy right now. And I believe they have a huge potential of generating job opportunities in the market. So providing more incentives to these sectors will provide more opportunities in the market, which will eventually stimulate the economic growth.
All right, so the young minds have spoken. So this was the budget wish list of these MBA students. All eyes are on Budget 2024. Our coverage continues, and we will continue to get you the voices of people from across the country. Thank you for watching this special broadcast.